We're going to read the rest of these super chats, but let's go ahead and move on to this next story, because this is, I'm just going to say, hands down, the biggest story that we have today. And this is kind of a political story, so I'm not going to post any opinions on this. I'm simply informing you of what's going on. This is very interesting. Over here on my screen, we can see that there is a video that's been uploaded called The Currency of Currency, directed by none other than Spike Lee. Smay, I had never heard of Spike Lee before this day started. You know exactly who he is, so can you tell us a little bit about this?
So if you know anything about any kind of movies, you're going to know who Spike Lee is, guys, because Spike Lee is one of the most revolutionary directors of the last couple decades. He is he's the guy who made The Five Bloods, Black Klansman, what were some other movies he made? He made that horrible campaign in 2K16. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. But anyways, we're not going to talk about that. But he's won several awards, several Oscars. But the biggest thing about Spike Lee, guys, and especially his movies, is that they start movements, guys. Like, he is known to have the ear of the people. And not only does he have the ear of the people, but he has the ear of Hollywood. Usually when Spike Lee does something, a lot of Hollywood soon follows, guys. So him getting on board with Bitcoin and setting this statement that not only I think is a very powerful statement, because it's for one of the first times that we're seeing a mainstream activist saying Bitcoin is the answer to our problems. Bitcoin is a representation for everyone who's not been represented properly in the United States. And I think that's absolutely a huge movement that is starting in the United States of this is what Bitcoin needed, right? Because like I said earlier with the athletes, Bitcoin has the ear of, Silicon Valley, right?
Yep.
And they're going to be great allies in helping push the technological and development of cryptocurrency. But they don't have the ear of the people. They don't have a cultural influence to get the average man to start buying groceries in Bitcoin. But if the narrative gets set now that, hey, your fiat currency doesn't represent you, it is owned and operated by the government above you, and you have no say in how that currency, operates, right? Versus Bitcoin represents the people.
Yep.
The Bitcoin is the same currency for all, right? So I think this is a huge narrative for pushing the adoption of Bitcoin amongst everybody, because this is the narrative that was needed to say that, hey, the dollar doesn't care about you. And obviously, Bitcoin's inanimate. It doesn't care about you, but it gives you the opportunity to represent yourself. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not working against you, because that's the best part. It is inanimate versus the fiat dollar. It's not just a piece of paper. It's backed by the government. That's a horrifying thought.
Well,
right?
I mean, what we're seeing is that if Spike Lee and some of these other activists start getting in on this, like these guys or don't like them, I don't care about the politics on this issue. Here's what I want to see. The largest conversation going on in America right now is civil rights. It's the biggest conversation, hands down, bar none. It's the biggest thing in the news. It has been for the last 15 years. It has been for a long time, but especially in the last 10 years. If all of a sudden Bitcoin represents the civil rights movement that's going on right now, imagine the impact that Bitcoin could have. Imagine how many tens or hundreds of millions of people would adopt Bitcoin tomorrow just because they feel that it represents them. Again, agree, disagree. This is not a political show. I'm not jumping into that. But there are a lot of people that don't feel represented, and those people might think that Bitcoin represents them.
And even beyond that, guys, let's just look at this practically, right? If we're looking at right now, we're living in a society where even companies and a lot of our infrastructure is under pressure to do better, right? We're in a place where people aren't silent anymore. We're done. We're fed up about the way we've been treated, right? So I think that this is a great tool to now push that energy in the right direction, right? Because the reality is we're going to see now businesses are going to feel pressured to start representing that if this is the cause that people are championing. Businesses, and then eventually the government has to bow down to the people eventually, right? So I think that's a huge part of it.
I think the thing that we can take away from this is no matter which side of the political aisle you're on, I think both sides of the political aisle agree that the government isn't for them at this point. I think both sides of the political aisle are fed up with the people in power because both sides of the political aisle are completely tired of not being represented. I think I speak for both sides on that. And again, I am not making a political statement at all in this video, but I can say this. A lot of people do not like the government. A lot of people want power back in their hands. A lot of people are tired of it. And Bitcoin is a tool that can help that to occur. And if it does, you're going to have a movement on your hands of Vietnam War proportions, of the civil rights movement proportion, of the space race proportion, guys. We are talking about entire societies getting behind Bitcoin. Not just El Salvador, not just another nation. We're talking about in America, we could see a major social movement being championed by Bitcoin.
Yeah.
What kind of impact could that have?
I mean, guys, this is, like Jebb said, this is beyond politics.
It is.
Like,
It's completely beyond politics.
And I know it might leave a sour taste in your mouth because, you know, you might feel some type of way about the other team on the other side, right? The reality is we're all America, and we want to see the best for America. And this is a huge part of seeing what's best for not only the United States, but the entire world.
Yep.
Right? And so this is a huge, feel how you will about what the social movement represents, but if Bitcoin is their tool, then the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
And this isn't just and also this isn't just an American thing. This is a conversation that's going on globally right now. And this is a currency that can be adopted and used globally right now. So we cannot discount the impact of something like this happening. Now look, Spike Lee making a commercial that's had 4,000 views so far is not that big of a deal. We're not talking necessarily about the news. We're talking about the precedent. And the precedent being set could have major implications for the next decade on Bitcoin. If Bitcoin starts getting picked up by both political parties, maybe one, we can have something to rally around, which is not liking Uncle Sam and our governments because they don't have our best interests at heart, because both sides seem to be able to at least agree on that. You can't get both sides to agree on anything, not even that the sky's blue, but if you can get them to agree that Bitcoin is the way, yes, Bitcoin might become a little more politicized, but also, yes, it would increase Bitcoin's market capitalization by an order of magnitude. And that would result in very large returns for all of us.